So the conditions are quite easier because over here, what you do is we usually compare statements. Okay, after comparing the statements, we try to actually say that if a particular statement is true, then you branch through its instructions, you execute them in a sequential way, and then you exit the program. However, if there are only two conditions, what you basically do is you type in if a condition is true, and then you go through it. And if not, then you directly branch through else. However, if there are more than two conditions, say for example, three, four, or more than that, we basically first check the first condition, and then if not, we branch to the other conditions using an elif. Over here, as you can see, if mouse underscore y is less than 500, then we're going to give it a color red. And if not, then we're going to check if the x coordinate is actually like less than 500, we're going to give it a color blue. And if these two are not satisfied, then we're directly going to jump into else statement where it says just colored of green. And yeah, so that's basically it for if statement. And for the logical operators, there are basically three logical operators: and, or, and not. So and meaning that both the statements has to be true. It's actually a Boolean operator. So true only if all the Boolean statements are true. Suppose 5 is greater than 3, as we all know, and 6 is greater than 3. So both the statements are true. However, if you see that 5 is greater than 3, and then you say 6 is less than 3, so there is a contradiction. So one of them is true and the other one is false. So it's eventually going to be false. So in order for the statements to be true, both the statements have to be true. Okay. And or statement, so it will be true if any of the Boolean statements are true. So suppose in this example, we say that 5 is greater than 3 or 6 is less than 3. So either one is true. So we can see that the left condition is true. So we can say and evaluate that and give the answer that it is true. Okay. However, over here we can say is 5 less than 3, 6 is less than 3. Since both of them are false, it will eventually evaluate to false. And not is basically just negating a true statement. What we do over here is true only if the Boolean statement is false. So not 6 less than 3. So 6 less than 3. It is false. However, when you add a not, the false converts into true. So we are actually negating that statement, and thus it turns out to be true. And when we say not 6 greater than 3, so first we say that 6 is greater than 3, it's true. And when we add a not, it means we are actually negating it. We are actually flipping its condition, and then it turns out to be false. All right. Next, we have list. So today we have a new topic, that's list. And so let's get to know about what is actually a list. So from the very ninth point, I would say that list is basically something that's usually stored. A collection of data where you're actually storing a collection of data. Okay, so what could be the data? It could be any type. So over here, a list holds multiple values. As you can see, students is a list. And what are the elements of the students list? Henry, Alice, Jack, Alex, and Carrie. So they're an efficient way of creating and storing a collection of similar values at once. So over here, just make sure you have this term noted down: creating and storing a collection of similar values all at once. So you can like create a list of 5 students, 6 students, or 7 students, depending upon the condition that's been given to you. And how do I make a list? So in order to create a list, we use square brackets. So this, the opening square bracket and the closing square bracket tells the computer that we do want to make a list. And the list can hold any type of data. It can be numbers, strings, and also booleans as well. So suppose we're trying to create a list of numbers over here. Okay, so we type in a random underscore numbers, we give a meaningful variable name, and now we are putting in the values over here. So you can see all the values over here. These are integers. So we can, it doesn't necessarily have to be in a sequential way, like in ascending order, descending order. You can put in any values that you want to. So you can even put positive values or negative values. And since it's a number, so it has to be of type int. Now we are trying to create a list of student names. So we've learned from session 1 and 2 that for names are basically strings. So we need to make sure that the names that we're giving should be a string. So how do you write a string is basically in between quotation marks. Okay, Henry, Weiss, Jack, and Alex. So these are the elements of the students list. Okay. Now let's deep dive and learn a bit more about list. How do we actually get a value from the list? So in the previous slide, you saw that there are multiple elements of the list. This was actually from the numbers array. It's written over here as well. So 101 minus 2, 303, and 44. So always remember, like, there is actually a starting index, which is always 0. Okay, so this is the first value, right? 101 is the first value of the list. Okay, so it is stored in the 0 index. Second value is -2. It is stored in the first index. Third value is 303. It is stored in the second index. Fourth value is 44, and it's stored in the third index. So we can keep adding more values, and the index will be incremented according to it accordingly. So if you are asked to actually get the third value from my numbers list, suppose this is what it says, to get the third value from the my numbers. So my numbers is basically this. So what is the third value? 1, 2, 3, 303. So there is a this is actually index position 2. Make sure that the first index always has to be 0. You can't be just starting from index 1, considering it to be index 1, and then index 2, 3, 4. No, that's going to be wrong, because always the index initial value of index has to be 0. Okay, so in order to get the third value, we basically type in the index position inside the square brackets, and then if you're willing to print it, just add the print command, print my underscore numbers, and then put your index position, and then this value will be outputted. Okay, so let's actually try it out and see how it works. Just a second. So my underscore numbers is equals to 1, 2, 3, 3. And say 303 has been printed out. Okay, so now if you're trying to get any other value, say for example, probably this one, sorry. So if you're trying to access the first value, which is at index 1, so it should be coming out 101. Let's see. Yeah, so that's it. Anyway, next, we can also, how do we actually use list? We can use the values of a list similar to how we used variables. Okay, so numbers is a list that has these 3 values, 75, 100, and 50. So when we are actually giving for circles, okay, the parameters, you guys remember, so that's x, y, and then also the diameter. So you can assign these values to be those corresponding values of those parameters. Okay, so how we can do that? It's basically just you're indexing and telling. So over here it says numbers of 0. 0 indicates 75, so it's going to be 75. Numbers of 1, it indicates 100, so it's going to be 100. And numbers of 2, it indicates 50, so it's going to be 50. Okay. Next, How do we modify the list or change the values inside of a list? Okay. Um, Suppose we have this list numbers. Here we have these values 2, 5, 6, and 8. Okay. Um, so here is a very complete diagram of how it looks like inside of a list and to its corresponding index value. For 0, it's 2, 1, it's 5, 2 is 6, 3 is 8. However, what we are trying to do here is we're trying to change the index 0 to value 3. Index 0 value to 3. So the value of index 0, we want it to be 3 instead of 2. So how are we going to do that? You basically just type numbers of 0 equals to 3. So over here, what you're doing is that you're overwriting the value of that particular index. Okay. And if you want, you can change the index. If you want, you can change the value of any index as well. Say, for example, if you're willing to change the value of index 2, what you do is you type numbers of 2, and then you can type in the value that you want to put instead of 6. Okay, if you're actually trying to replace 6. So before till this part, do you guys have any questions? Is there
I
any
don't.
all right. Not then probably we have our first quick question. It says, what will be the diameter of the circle that is drawn in setup? So read through this quick question, and you guys are gonna have a minute or two to actually solve it. All right, so I hope you guys have put in your answers in the poll. I'm gonna share the results. All right, so moving on, the next topic is how we can actually make our list bigger. So as I was saying, that we can add as many values as we want to an existing list, depending upon how much we want to add. So it says we can also add items to an existing list. First, let's create a list of everything we need to buy from the store. So from the shopping list, we have eggs, ham, cheese, and onions. Okay, and this is a clear diagram of actually depicting on which index is each value. Okay. Over here, for 0, you have eggs, and for 1, you have it's gonna be ham. Sorry, it's gonna be for two, it's cheese, and for three, it's gonna be onions. Okay, and then how we can actually make our list a bit bigger. So for doing that, what we can do is we use the dot append function. It is basically used to add items to the end of the list. Okay. Uh, Say for example, we want to add this new item that's called milk. Okay. So shopping underscore list, that is the name of our list. Dot append, we're using milk, we're adding milk, so milk will be the next value on the next index that's available. So we had our list of onions, and then afterwards we're gonna add milk. So every single time we add, we use the dot append thing. It's gonna be like the next, it's gonna increment on the right, okay, every single time. And then when we are adding bread, we use the append function. So it goes to fifth index with the value of bread. So this is basically a list of strings, since as you guys can all see that all the elements that we have here are inside the double quotation. Okay. And how we can actually remove the items from the list. So in order to remove the items from the list, what we do is use the dot remove function. Similarly, it's quite similar to the dot append function. So for adding, we use dot append, and for removing, we use dot remove. Suppose we are actually willing to remove a particular value. So we type in the name of the value, and it's going to be removed from that particular index. So if it's ham, we are trying to remove. So we can see that ham is in the first index over here, okay? And when its ham is removed, the next corresponding item for to ham is cheese. So cheese is going to be moved to the first index since the value of ham is removed. So cheese is going to be moved to the first index, and they're going to move to the left, all of them to the left, because this value is empty. This value is empty once ham has been removed. Okay, so and then cheese is here, and then we're removing onions as well. So onions is also removed. Now they are, all of them has been rearranged to a new index value. Previously, the one that we had was not similar to them. Okay, next, how we can actually get the length of our list. So basically, the length of our list means the size of our list, or counting how many elements actually are there inside of the list. So we use the length function. So students equals to Henry, Alice, Jack, and Alex. Since this is a very short list, by looking at this, we can see that the length of this students list is 4. So how do we get 4? We basically use the length function, and we inside the parentheses we put in the list name, which is students, and then we print out, and this will actually print out 4. Okay, so this is the first exercise. So what you guys are going to do is using a list to draw 4 rectangles so that go all along with your mouse underscore X. So as you can see over here that all of them are growing linearly whenever you're actually dragging your mouse from left to right. So you have to make sure that there is no difference in length in between all of these bars. So you guys are gonna have around 15 minutes, around 12 minutes to work on this. I think that would be sufficient enough. And if you guys have any doubts, feel free to ask your mentor. And now you guys will be sent out to breakout rooms. Show you guys the code for exercise 1. I'd like to just give you guys, because I realized that I actually skipped for the explanation for a quick question once answer. So the question was like, what would be the diameter for the circle drawn in the setup? So you can see x equals to 20, 40, 60, 80. First, we're getting the first index, and this is going to be x of 1 plus 10, so it's 40 plus 10, 50, and then x of 3, so x of 3 is 0, 1, 2. In x of 3, we are going to store x of 1 multiplied by 2. So what is x of 1 currently? It's 50 because initially it was 40 and we added 10 to it. It now became 50. So 50 into 2, it's 100. So over here, x of 3 would be 100 and 100 was the correct answer. I hope you guys got it correct. Many of you guys actually got it correct. So for this exercise, just do this, make sure you're able to see it. Okay, so what we have over here is, all right. So the first things first, we have to type in percent ignite, and then we have to give our setup just to make sure that we have the window ready. The size would be 100, 500. That's what I'm gonna give. And then, so you have to figure out what could be the, the coordinates, okay? So before that, let us actually give the background color, okay? So in order to give the background color, we use the draw function, okay? And then we give the background, and it's yellow, so I'm gonna go with background. I'm just gonna give the hexadecimal values, 2.5, 100. All right. So we see that the fill style for the rectangular bars are blue. So how we can actually use list over here. So first, let us actually create a list. Okay. So we got to make sure that the list that we're creating should be outside of the function because we would be like using the values of those lists in specific functions. So if I declare the list inside of the setup function, it wouldn't be I won't be able to use it inside of the draw function because it's going to be only local to setup. So we got to make sure that we're actually creating a global list. So let's create the list over here. And what we have over here is, so it's over here, you can see for the coordinates, I'm going to just type in some random values, which are basically going to be the coordinates, the x, y, and the axis. Now, inside of the draw function, we're going to make sure we're actually assigning it to be a global list because we want to access the values from here. And now let us draw these circles. Sorry, the rectangles. For the rectangle, what we're going to do is the initial position. As you can see, it starts from all 0. So it's going to be 0, comma. Now what we're trying to do here is that we're actually trying to make sure that it has a so over here this is the list because this is the list of height. So first would be here 50, and then it's 130, and then 275, and then 400. So first for the height we have to use list of index 0, okay, and then we're going to use mouse underscore x because it should be moving along with our mouse, and then 30. So the same thing we're going to repeat. The only change would be that we're going to be changing the values of the list over here. So it's going to be so 1, 2, and 3. Okay. And also the bar, it has blue fill style. So I'm just going to go underscore style. It's going to be blue. Okay. Let's actually run it and check it out. So percent ignite. Okay. It's going to be like that. possible here? Oh, okay. My bad. It's just a typo. So, yeah, yeah. Okay, now if you see, you're dragging it and they're actually increasing linearly, four of them at the same time. Okay, so the mistake that I did was I actually have made a typo for the name of the list, which is going to be y underscore list. Instead of underscore list, I gave list. Okay, so that was basically the first exercise. So moving on, the next term that we're going to learn is loops, which is really important for you guys to understand what loops is. So we're going to start directly from the loop basic. So loops repeat code for a certain number of times. Okay, so this is the start of code. This is the start of loop. You write your bunch of code inside the loop. You end the loop, and then it's gonna repeat. So that is the main terminology of loop. And loops are great for working with lists. Today we'll learn the most common type of loop, that is for loops. Um, so, so let's actually think about the loop analogy in a practical manner. So suppose you're going to a dentist. So uh, at first, the dentist begins at the first tooth. Okay, for a regular checkup, you went to the dentist. So the dentist checks your first tooth, and it says if the tooth is healthy. If not, it moves on to the next tooth, and it repeats until all teeth have checked. However, if the condition arises that the first tooth is not healthy, or possibly another tooth is not healthy, the tooth that is after the first tooth is not healthy. At that time, uh, the loop is gonna break. Okay, so there won't be sequential execution of instructions anymore. So let's actually have a look at it, how we can use loops with list. So we can go through each item in the list and print each value using a for loop. So as you can see, this is the shopping list that we have: eggs, ham, cheese, and onions. Now what we are doing is we are iterating over the shopping list. So for item in shopping list, this is a keyword in. So for item in shopping list, it refers to all the items over here inside of the shopping list. uh, Print item. So what we are actually doing here is that suppose I have this. Right, I have this shopping underscore list, and just gonna type in some random values. Bread. And what else do we have? Cheese. Okay. Now we're gonna iterate over for item in shopping. Okay, let's go list. We are actually printing out the items. So it's basically we are iterating over the entire list. And now what we can see is that all of the elements that are inside of the shopping list has been printed out sequentially. So first we had milk, then onion, bread, cheese. So so zero index has been printed. The value of zero index has been printed out first. First index has been printed out second. Third index has been printed out. Second index has been printed out third, and third index has been printed out as the fourth. Okay, so that's how we actually can use loop, and we can combine with list. Okay, so next, what we have is a very quick question. So what will we print with this piece of code? So I'm actually gonna try to copy this code and paste it. Okay. Okay. So this code is here, and you guys will have the poll ready for this quick question. So put in your values. This is pretty much similar to the one that I've showed you just a few moments ago. So yeah, just put in your answer real quick. All right, so let me actually go over this quick question. So over here, numbers is a list that has 2, 3, 5. Okay, so initially we are actually assigning x to be 0. X is a temporary variable we're considering. For number in numbers, so we are actually iterating over the numbers list. X plus equals to number. So plus equals to is actually the short form of x equals to x plus numbers. So initially what we have is 0. So first we add 0 plus 2 because that is the first that is the 0. So we add the value of the 0 index with 0. Okay, so the value of 0 index is 2. So first it's 2. Okay, next um, this loop is going to continue till numbers. So for the last number, so for number in number, so number, the last number over here is basically 5, as we were saying over here. So as long as the list doesn't end, it's going to continue. So we have 2, and then we add again 2 equals to 2 plus x equals to 2 plus 3. Now the value of x is 5, and then later on we add 5 again, so it's going to be 5 plus 5. So the answer is going to be 10. So 10 is the correct answer from the quick for this question. Okay. Now let's actually try to understand this part. Um, okay. So when do we need to use the loops? So this is actually let's look at our code from exercise 1 again. So what we did over here. We did was like when we were actually entering the values. So it's like y underscore list 0, y underscore list 1, y underscore list 2, and so on. Now, this is a very repetitive code, and we don't want that to happen in our program. Okay, we want to make it more efficient. So what if we had 20 values? So for 20 values, you'd have to like write it 20 times, which we really don't want to do. Okay, so how do we actually change the repetition into loops? All right, so we can replace our repeating code. We can replace our repeating code with a loop. Over here, you can see that instead of writing them sequentially one after the other, we can just write this is the list that has this values, and for y in y underscore list, the rect is 0 y mouse underscore x and 30. So we basically like put in the the parameters that the rect function has. So y over here, you can see it's going to be replaced by 50 at the beginning. For the next execution, it's going to be 135. For the third execution, it's going to be 275. For the fourth execution, it's going to be 400. Okay, so next, what we have here is changing the repetition into loops. So let's actually go over how it's working. So for y and y list, okay, so rect 0, y comma mouse underscore x comma 30. Okay, so now over here y is 50. All right, we look at the yellow arrow that's actually pointing to the second statement over here. Now this 50 is passed into the first statement again. So as we say, like there is a start point and there is an end point, and we actually repeat that continuously. Okay. Now, well, y is 135 again, as I've told you before. And now 135 is going to be passed to the top. And then next is 275. And then after we're done with 275, it's going to be passed again to the top. And then the last value that we have is 400. And that's it. We are actually done with the looping part. Okay, so this is the next exercise that you guys have. You have to use list and a for loop to draw 5 circles that are falling down the screen at the same time. So think about how the hint for you guys would be thinking about how a loop helps us to draw the circle so much faster. Like we've learned about how we can draw rectangles, okay, by using the loop. Okay, now try drawing the circle by using the loop. All right, so that's basically the main task of this exercise. So you guys are gonna have around um, 10 minutes for this exercise, and now this you all take to your breakout rooms. And if you guys then again have any questions, please do reach out to your mentors. So first thing first, as we always do, is basically create the setup. I'm gonna give it this time. I'm gonna give it 300 with 300. And afterwards, we have to use the draw function. Okay, so let's give the background. The hex codes over here. 63. Okay. So yeah, now as we did in the previous exercise that we have to set up y position for the so the x position for the heights, because first it was 30 and then 130 and then 275 400 because they were in a particular level. So over here we need to actually fix their x position because they're falling vertically. So what I will be doing here is that I'm going to create a list, okay? So that says x plus for x position, and then I'm going to have 5 values, 30, 90, 150. You can type in whatever values you want, but you can actually try to make sure that these are evenly spaced because over here that's what it says. And then the y part would be 10, and as we've learned from previous uh, lectures that from the previous sessions that how we actually can increment the speed. Okay, so we're actually trying to do that, implement it over here. So why I declared this over here is because I want to access it globally. So we gotta make sure that we we type the global keyword and make them so they're accessible in this function. So now, after I'm done with that, so as you can see, the value of y as it's falling down, so it gets increased every single time. So how is it increasing? It's basically increasing with, it's basically like increasing linearly. So it's going to increase with the position. It's going to be replaced every single time with the speed. So is how you do it, and then afterwards you're gonna adjust the speed over here as well. You want to give it 0.5 or 0.0, whatever you feel like. Now we have to draw the circles. So what we can do is we can use this values over here, okay, to be the x point, to be the x point of our circle. So what we can do is we can type a loop for x and x pause. What we do is circle x comma y pause 30. Okay, 30 is basically the diameter, right? Now let's try checking it out, and it works. All right, so it's probably gonna run for one because all right, now the next topic that we have over here is how we can mix up the loops and if statements. So you can put if statements and other logic blocks inside for loops. So far we have learned about how we can use loops with list, but now we are going to learn about how we can use loops with if statements. It's very widely used. So suppose for x and x pause, so we can actually compare. Suppose we are actually trying to compare, okay, the x in x position. So the x would be the list of values that we had declared initially for the exercise that we did just right now. And then we're comparing if the current value of x is greater than 140, then make it red. If not, then make it yellow. So over here, we can see that in this array, there are only two values that are greater than 150. So the last two values are actually red, and the first three values turned out to be yellow because they did not satisfy the condition. Okay, so let's actually go over it, how it works. So over here, suppose we have an x position 40, 80, 120, 160, 200. Okay, and this is the algorithm that's right in front of us. If a value of x is greater than red, it should be, if a value of x is greater than 150, it will be colored red. If not, then it's going to be colored yellow. Then first the x would be pointed to the 0 index, which is 40, and then this is going to be passed inside of the if else statement. Okay, and then if this is not true, well, it's not true. It goes into the else statement, and yellow has been printed. And then 80, and then it checks again with 150. It's false. It jumps to yellow, and we see that it's yellow. Now we point to 120. It's also less than 150, so we're directly going to go to else statement, and it says yellow again. Now we have 160, which is actually larger than 150. So now we are going to dive into the first condition that says it's going to be red because it's greater than 150. So the fill style turns out to be red. The same thing goes on for 200 as well. So that's pretty much it. And these are the exercise that you guys have. You guys can try out. This is for the bug busters, and these are the Pythonic lava exercises. So you guys can try out anyone that you guys want to. And these are the exercises that are just for fun. So now you guys will be sent to breakout rooms again to work on these exercises with your mentors. So you guys are gonna come back here at 7:28. So